Over time, opinions change, feelings soften or harden, perspectives shift, or new information changes things. Some people might see that as having a lack of conviction, but I see it as being open-minded and willing to learn. I think points of view changing as we evolve and examining why we've changed our angle on something is an interesting thing to reflect on, so I wanted to present some times where my opinion on things regarding Tomb Raider has changed. Let's have a look. Starting big, I used to think the failure, controversy, and unfinished state of Angel of Darkness was Eidos, the publisher's fault, for forcing the developer Core Design to release the game before it was truly ready. That's the usual narrative, but over time I've come to realize that the fact is, Core Design had 3 years between the prior game, Tomb Raider Chronicles and Angel of Darkness, and Eidos as a publisher were unusually very hands-off. Usually corporate meddling is what ruins games and films, but Eidos just left Core to it, which was a unique and great freedom. The situation is that while the Core veterans were making Chronicles, the heads of Core, the Smith brothers, hired a load of new staff to do pre-production for Angel of Darkness, but their inexperience meant that most of it, if not all of their 1 whole year's worth of work, was unusable for whatever reason. So when Chronicles wrapped and the Core vets joined the Angel of Darkness team to properly kickstart true development, it had to be restarted. That is to say that, effectively speaking, Core had 4 years. But playing devil's advocate, 3 years is still a generous amount of time. I think the Smith brothers should have managed Core a lot better. They were so out of touch with the team that they didn't even know that Lara was supposedly killed off at the end of Last Revelation as it was being developed, which is an unthinkable amount of distance from studio heads in this day and age. So no, I used to think the poor outcome of Angel of Darkness was mostly Eidos' fault, but realistically it was probably 100%, not 90% or 50%, but 100% Core's fault, even if the blame is mostly the Smith brothers' failure to lead teams. Eidos, in fairness, did delay the release. Should they have delayed it over and over and over? I wish they did, but come on. I say this all reluctantly and with sadness because I love Angel of Darkness, and to be clear as day, absolutely none of this is to say that I think Eidos giving development duties to Crystal Dynamics was the right decision. On a business level, I get it. They needed to be seen in front of the public and shareholders to be giving Tomb Raider to a proven studio, which Crystal were after their well-received work on Legacy of Kain. But on an artistic level, Crystal sacrificed both Tomb Raider and Lara's identity and depth for wider market appeal, rebooted the franchise twice, dividing the franchise in the process, are now scrambling to unify 3 conflicting timelines, and have basically turned the franchise into an embarrassing to be fan of shit show with no real identity and are just making it up as they go, chasing trends. Another thing I've U-turned my opinion on is about cosplay. I used to think only white women should cosplay as Lara because otherwise it's going to be too inaccurate, but now I totally appreciate the art of adaptation, the art of taking something and making it your own, putting your own spin on it, and really transforming something to make it work for you while still tastefully knowing where to keep things the same. That's a fascinating balance to strike. On paper, a black male cosplaying as Lara Croft shouldn't work, but damn, how can you not love this? Shout out to DJ Croft. The next thing I've changed my opinion on is in regards to historical accuracy. When I was younger, I cared less about history and found it boring, which it still can be depending on the subject, and I thought it doesn't matter if a game's story contradicts historical knowledge that we have, it should be able to do what it likes. But as I've gotten older, I feel like if a game's story is going to use real-world history, then it really ought to stay in line with what we know, at least so it can accidentally be educational as well as entertaining. I feel like any great artist will produce great art within whatever limitations you give them. Give Leonardo da Vinci a 1-inch canvas and he'll paint something amazing on there. Tell a competent writer, which Crystal Dynamics have never had, to tell a compelling story within the so-called confines of historical accuracy, and they'll write something interesting and engaging. If there are gaps within a chosen ancient topic the game is going for, then by all means fill them in with fiction as long as it doesn't contradict the things we do know. That's fair enough to me. If a writer does feel too limited, then making up entirely fictional mythos is completely fine in my opinion, because it's custom written from the ground up, so wouldn't conflict with actual reality, a bit like certain religious texts which are still very commercially successful. Another change of viewpoint, going back to Angel of Darkness, it is actually my favourite Tomb Raider. There's a lot wrong with it, yes, but its good points are so good that it elevates the whole thing to being, in my opinion, the best. But just like those who have never played it and think it's cool to hate it before giving it a chance, I did also initially hate it for about 2 years when it first came out. Granted, I did give it a brief try a couple of times, but the wonky, clunky nature of controlling Lara, the annoying fixed camera angles, the bafflingly pointlessly reconfigured button input layout, and just the general technical awkwardness would always put me off. But one day, as it was a 3-year gap between Angel of Darkness and what would be the next Tomb Raider, I felt like I had exhausted the first 5 and just wanted more Tomb Raider. And so Angel of Darkness was always that one extra Tomb Raider that I had never fully dived into. Therefore, there was some unexplored territory. So I one day just decided to really truly give it a chance, go into it with an open mind and take it slow, and see what's up. And when I played it without prejudice, I absolutely fell in love with what it had to offer. The atmosphere, the music, the art style, the script, Lara's voice and personality, the captivating plot, the movement animations, not the control, the animations, and the level design wasn't terrible either. And as far as the controls go, you get used to them. So my opinion on the game completely 180'd, which I'm very happy about. I do resent this notion from Angel of Darkness haters that the fans of it only love the game because of what it could have been with all of its cut content and potential. No bitch, I fell in love with what we did get before I knew about any of the development hell it went through. Alright, so it's not many, but those are some of the major things I've changed my opinion on over the years, and I'm curious to know about some of yours. As in, what opinions did you once have, what has it changed to, and most interestingly and importantly, what was it that made you change your opinion? My name is Seth Mackenzie, thank you so much for watching.